Hi, and welcome to Equinox Business Law Group's Focus Podcast. I'm Michelle Bomberger, Managing Attorney at Equinox Business Law Group, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between employees and contractors in your business. Many people, when hiring help for their business, classify those people as contractors. But there's a lot going on right now with contractors being reclassified by auditors and other revenue agencies as employees, ending up with penalties and interest and taxes that are unanticipated by a business. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you might avoid this sort of a problem in your business. So when you hire a contractor, that person is not subject to employment taxes. They have their own business and they're coming in to help you out. You pay them a fixed amount or an hourly rate for the work that they're doing, and then they're responsible for their own taxes. This can be an issue when a company is calling most of their folks contractors. The state and federal treasuries are looking for people who should be paying into the unemployment system and the workers' compensation system and the Medicare and Medicaid system, paying payroll taxes on these folks, but those agencies aren't getting these funds when people are classified as contractors. So this is where the risk comes into play. There's a big emphasis on federal and state audits in this area. The IRS has a number of tests, in fact, that are based a lot on facts and circumstances. It looks at how much control the employer has over the individual to determine whether or not that person is truly a contractor. If you as the employer are telling the individual when and where and how to do the job, it looks a whole lot more like an employee than someone who knows this. This is what they do for a living, and they're coming in to do the job because they know how to do it. They are the experts. Washington State has put in place a very black and white, all or nothing test to determine whether an individual should be classified as an employee or a contractor. And we'll talk about those points in just a moment. This helps employers because it is more clear-cut than the IRS test, but it's not definitive from an IRS standpoint. However, it does help you to take certain steps and consider the key issues when bringing on someone as a contractor. Another new step in the process is that the state agencies and the federal agencies are now able to communicate with one another. And therefore, if you have an audit from one organization, the likelihood of another one coming in the door is pretty high. This form is the Independent Contractor Information Sheet from Washington State Department of Labor and Industries. You may not be able to read it very well here, but it gives you the information regarding the rules that they have put in place. There is a 6-step test and a 7th step for those who are general contractors or electrical contractors. But the first is a direction and control point. So that person needs to come in as a contractor and not be told the when, the where, the how to do the work. Secondly, they need to pass one of these 3 tests. They must perform a service outside the ordinary course of your business. So if what they're doing is a key part of what you do, they're more likely to be classified as an employee. They must perform the service away from your business, doing it on their own job site or in their own office. That's a second option here. And then the third is that they are responsible under the contract and in reality for the business location where they are doing the work. So under Section 2, that's an or classification, so they need to meet at least one of those. Under Section 3, this idea is that they actually are running a business on their own. As a contractor, they're an expert. They're being brought in to do this for you because they do this for a living. So therefore, they must be customarily engaged in their own business to provide these services to others. Or they have a principal place of business that qualifies under the IRS standard for deduction, and it must be used for their business on a regular basis. Section 4, they must be required by the IRS to file a business tax return. This means that they have a business that is generating revenue, has expenses, and files taxes. The 5th step is they must be set up in Washington State as a business with a UBI number. They must maintain their own sets of books and records. So when you look at this holistically, the issues are around whether this individual that you are bringing on board is truly running a business separate from yours. That's the core. And they are the expert that you're bringing in to satisfy a need that your business has. So for employers who are classifying individuals as contractors when maybe they should be employees, the audit will result in back taxes that should have been paid, penalties, and interest. And the penalties are really one of the big kickers here because those numbers can get high really quickly. In addition, if your contractors are deemed to be employees, they should have been participating in some of the other employment-related benefits that you might be offering, such as 401k or other compliance-related issues. So that switchover from a tax standpoint is not the only impact. There's other liability that you might have as an employer for not allowing these individuals to participate in employee benefits. So what do? Employers have a number of tools that they can use to mitigate this risk. When you bring on a contractor, it's important that you understand these rules and how these rules apply to that particular job position in your business. Similarly, you want to ask the questions. Based on these 6 or 7 categories, does the individual satisfy them in a way that you feel confident that if you're ever audited, that they will be deemed to be contractors? It's important to use a written contract also to limit your liability here. A lot of folks have contracts that simply say the parties agree that they are in an independent contractor relationship. Well, this is nice, but it's not definitive and it won't hold up if all of those other factors are not met. We can help out a little bit here also to have the contractor warrant and promise that they are satisfying these obligations and that they're going to indemnify you if they are found to be employees rather than contractors. But ultimately, as the person hiring, you are on the hook for this risk. So it's important that you take these steps seriously, put in place the proper investigations and documents to ensure that you're protected if you are ever audited and these individuals are looked at as far as their classification. I know this is a lot of information for a short period of time, but I hope you learned a couple of things. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, Michelle at equinoxbusinesslaw.com.